No, they always do. Buenas tardes, ladies and gentlemen. Sí, soy yo once again to conservative New York and aquí in the WYSL station, secret locations, right? Coming to you over these airways. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, today is our day. It is Thursday, August 15th. As I always try to tell you, I enjoy spending my lunchtime with you. So listen, pick up that phone in between bites, dial 346-3000, and let's have a conversation and check it out. I am on social media, right? I'm on YouTube and Facebook, LinkedIn, all those things, right? And on social media today, you're not going to hear like the callers because we're still working that issue, or I'm still working that issue. But I did, I want to share with you, and you could still leave comments on what we're talking about, and I'll try to share back what it is that when we get callers and so forth, if need be. Anywho, a quick shout out to my sister, La Señora Idalia Vasquez, whose birthday it was yesterday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to my little big sister. Hey, Dali, I hope you're doing well. I really do. Someday I'm going to have you on the show, sis, and we can talk about, well, hey, what was life growing up with Peter Vasquez as your little brother? Imagine that, ladies and gentlemen. Your conservative New Yorker as your little brother, huh? Um, National Observance Days, right? And again, I keep saying this, Keith. I appreciate you reminding me on that because these are important things. So, for example, today, one of the national observances, which I think is an important day, especially for those of you that are Catholics, right? It is the Assumption of Mary Observance Day, right? It's a day that is significant for Catholics, marking the belief that Mary, the mother of Jesus, was assumed was assumed into heaven. She ascended into heaven. Excuse me. It's a holy day of obligation, meaning that Catholics are expected to go to mass. So check it out, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a Catholic, just remember that today is Assumption of Mary Day, and check it out. You probably got to go to church, right? According to the celebration. And National Relaxation Day. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to observe this particular day for at least a little longer because I'm out hustling, I'm working, I'm trying to, I don't want to say I'm trying to rule the world because that is not a fact. What I'm trying to do is get people to become the rulers of ourselves, the rulers of our own nation, right? Because here in the United States, remember, God, country, family, we have a constitution as such. And in all our imperfections, the United States of America is absolutely a nation, that promotes freedoms, and when those freedoms come under attack, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It is up to us to not relax, but to stand up, to not be acceptable of terms like shut up and sit down, especially from our own. But you know what, though? If today's a light day for you, if today is a day that you can take some time to yourself with your family, take it, right? And relax. It is National Relaxation Day. You have permission, right, to kick back, open up the root beer, and just watch a good movie, snuggle with your grandkids or your kids or your siblings, and play a board game. Oh my gosh, play a board game. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't say it enough. Play a board game with your kids. Play a card game with your kids, right? Take these relaxation days and make it about the other person because, well, you know what? Why not, right? Why not? Today is also National Back to School Prep Day. Oh, I'll tell you, this is a day that I'm glad I don't have to observe anymore. But it's a day that celebrates the new school year approaching. It's the day that's set aside, in theory at least, set aside to help parents and students prepare for the upcoming school year. I mean, we've got classes starting both in higher education, both in high school and elementary schools within the next few weeks. So really, ladies and gentlemen, I got to ask you, right? Have you gone out and gotten the lists that you need from your respective schools and started shopping, because you don't want to wait to the last minute. But I also want to say that there's organizations out there that are taking donations. I'll give you an example. Right there on Clinton Avenue at Pilon, along with the Latino Youth Development, are taking are taking bags and I'm talking book bags, not just regular bags, and supplies to fill them, right? Because yes, there are people out there in this world that need it. And I've said this a million times, right? You can't say you're conservative, right? And then look at someone or someone's and say, I'm just going to ignore you because, because whatever. It just doesn't work that way. That's not even God, country, family. As a matter of fact, if you don't participate in helping people, if you don't participate in, spend $100 and buy some decent, inexpensive book bags that you could share with some supplies. I mean, these things are a dime a dozen, right? If you can't do that, then I guess the only thing that's left is a bunch of people going without. And really, we feed the whole narrative of Democrats, even though we know they don't really do anything. We can see it in policies, right? They've been in charge in New York State for a long time, and the problems just keep getting worse. So, hey, but though, not helping, that in itself is a political statement. And not a very good political statement either. Not one that puts you or me or the conservative movement or even American values in a good light. So listen, take a second and think about that. Today is also International Homeless Animals Day, right? And listen, I'm a dog lover. I love animals in general. I probably would not get certain animals just because I don't have the time, or just because that particular breed of animal may need a little more. I'll tell you, dogs, I can speak. I've had dogs. I love dogs. Growing up at home, I wasn't allowed to have dogs. My parents were like, nah, we're going to get stuck taking care of him and stuff. But somehow or another, I always ended up having something. I even had an ant farm at one point. But you know what? Listen. There is a lot of animals out there that are homeless, especially cats. They seem to be all over the place. And I'm not saying, hey, go out there with a box and catch some stray cat or some stray dog. What I'm saying is a lot of these animals, right, if you can grab him in a humane way and take him over to a vet, or take him over to the Humane Society or the Lollipop Farm or the many other pet facilities throughout the county or even outside the county, right, that can help find these animals home and help find them medical care, right? I mean, again, these are living, breathing creatures, right? It's kind of like if you get a fish and you stick it in the fish tank and then you ignore it just because it's a fish. Think about that. That's a living, breathing being that has, I have to assume that they feel pain. Listen, you can't convince me that my dogs don't have feelings, because as excited as they get when we come home, the tears, the crying that they do, many of my friends in the military that lost their lives protecting this country, their animals felt that void and cried. So don't tell me that these animals can just be ignored, even the goldfish. And so check it. If you don't got time for any of these animals, just don't get them. It really is that simple. Just don't get the animals. Anyways, 346-3000. Leave us a message on social media. I definitely want to hear everything that I can from you. Man, what a week. We started off the week talking about very important things, talking about the absence of leadership in the clerk's office with no-show Romeo. What else did we talk about this week? We talked yesterday. We have Armando on with Fair Tax, I believe, talking about the impact of the cost on society, on me and you, when legislators, elected officials allow policies to remain in place that are causing harm. So listen, I think I said, I'm sure I said actually, that these these things that we see in society, like the repeated crime over and over and over again, is costing us not just that huge societal cost, right? Of a broken down a community with people that are just in awe, not feeling safe at all whatsoever. And remember, our young people, which is going to be our topic of discussion today, our young people are seeing it, they're feeling it, they are responding to it, right? Either through major depression or other mental health issues, or check it out, because I've said this a million times. If you are an individual walking down the street, you can rest assured that someone is watching you, and probably a kid. And listen, you can cut this pie any way you want. Kids absolutely learn by watching what others do. That's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. That is probably more factual than anything out there you see data wise. So when you're walking, please make sure that what you're doing, what people see, right, is something that is going to be positive, something that's going to help them grow, something that's going to show you being present. I don't understand, right? Why that's difficult for elected officials to understand. Mira, soy yo conservative New Rican, aquí in the WYSL studios, 346-3000. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. No cambie ese dial, because WYSL is the place to be. Welcome back to the Next Step Show, ladies and gentlemen, con tu conservative New Rican, Peter Vasquez. Hey, Bob, let that go for about 10 more seconds. Absolutely. Thanks, Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you, I love music. And, when we're talking about homeless animals, I also want to take the opportunity to talk about homeless individuals, because that is a problem, a significant problem, not just here in the United States or here in New York State, but throughout the United States. And it seems to be, it seems to be kind of really highlighted or exemplified in states like New York, in states like like California and others. This one, when I was in Sacramento visiting my daughter, she did a stint with the AmeriCorps, or a couple, I think. And we were driving around, and we were coming up on this one entrance into the highway, and on the underpass. I'll tell you, it was the most sad and amazing thing. And I kept thinking to myself, wow, really, anybody can fall victim to homelessness. Anybody. And the thing is, we've seen it during COVID. It doesn't take much except for some, like a buffoon in the White House, a magician in the State House, and then a bunch of freaking sheep running, the county and the cities who have no cojones, right? Who don't understand the concept of advocacy. Right. And to shift again, on the county clerk, let's talk about what happened just a few Fridays ago, where, when the county shut everything down. And I'm thinking, man, where are the contingency plans? What happens if this was longer? Well, why didn't we have a plan in place to shift from electronics to paper? I mean, it happened before. See, I mean, to me, that's a lack of leadership, but that happens when we have leaders that call themselves leaders, but in fact, right, are in this case, no-show Romeos. Psalms 27, verse 1 says this: "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" Now, listen, see, for those of you that truly struggle with accepting biblical truths, right? How can a verse like this, right, when working with a young person or working with families that are struggling, right? How can sharing information like that in any way, shape, or form take away from a child's development? And now, listen, we know that we believe in the power of prayer. Let's not forget I think it was Kelly, the guy from the Buffalo Bills. I think it was the quarterback, right? Remember when he had cancer? Guy never spoke God in his life, and all of a sudden he gets cancer, and he's asking the world to pray for him. And the craziest thing, if you recall, there were people out there that claimed to be atheists or agnostics and saying, yeah, we prayed for this guy to a God that we don't even believe exists. And what happened? I believe he's still kicking, right? And the crazier part about it is that since then, we really haven't heard much more coming out of them about it. So listen, God works, right? And I'll tell you this, God works all the time. God works more often, right, than technology works. You take that for what it's worth. But I'll tell you what, though, working in today's politics, you kind of, that verse for me at least becomes so important, right? Because I'm literally running for an office, for a seat that is going to place me right smack dab in the middle of what is a cesspool, right? I am positioning myself to break that hold that one party has had in this county for a long time. Right? For now, a long time. And the thing is, it's been one corruption after another. But we'll talk about that another time. Right now, I want to highlight the trickery that our hocus pocus does, right? And this is where this family and our hearts goes out to the Bowie family. It goes out to all the families in Canasteel, New York. But man, when the governor of the state comes and stands in your front porch using your house, the devastation that you just dealt with, right? The devastation that has changed your life probably for a really long time, right? And definitely created trauma. She's sitting there making promises to the people of Canasteel saying, oh yeah, you will have without delay the resources that you need. $50,000, I think she said, for households that had issues, until the Bowie family goes and applies, does everything that they're supposed to based on these promises, excited, and all of a sudden, poof, they get denied because apparently they make too much money. Now, listen, see, this is the thing. Yes, after a social media outpour. See, trickery, ladies and gentlemen. That's why she's hocus pocus. I'd say the buffoon was a hocus pocus too, but the reality is he's just a buffoon. And the thing is, his vice president, now a candidate for president, is a buffoon right there with him. Just insanity. The stuff that comes out of these people's mouths and the stuff that they sit there and try to say is true. But can you imagine saying, oh my God, we're going to get this resolved, the trauma's mitigated, and all of a sudden you make too much money? And see, they ended up doing a Facebook post on this that ended up getting a lot of traction. And it's sad that after the governor comes and does this photo op, right, and makes these lofty promises, all of a sudden, poof, there's no help. And they've got to go to social media and they got to push, right, their neighbors and others that are watching this post, just so that the state can say, oh, wait a minute, maybe we should look at what's wrong here, right? And unfortunately, right, there are a lot of people out there who probably wouldn't have posted a social media post. See, this is the trickery, ladies and gentlemen. This is why it's so important that when you go cast that vote, you're casting your vote for an individual that isn't just saying things to you. The county clerk has been absent for 4 years. There has been nothing for 4 years, and she's talking about advocacy, right? And the funny thing about it is, right, her party pretty much controls everything. Right. So what kind of advocacy is it when you can't get your own party, or you don't stand up against your own party and say, no, we need to reduce these rates. No, we need to make the pistol permit way more accessible. Right. What kind of advocacy is it when you sit there and say, oh, yeah, we shut down the whole clerk's office? Actually, I think it was Bellows who said that. I mean, is Bellows running that clerk's office? Is he the one that she's advocating? Is she taking her concerns to him? I don't even think she's doing that. I mean, the governor is sitting here with doublespeak, and it takes this family that apparently has the resources and the wherewithal to go out and make these public statements. But ladies and gentlemen, as well as I do, because you've heard, most people won't do that. Most people don't like going public. Most people don't want to go out there and complain about something. They'll just deal with it. So why would Governor Hochul go over to Canasteel, New York, stand on these people's front porch, make a promise, say that it's going to happen lickety-split, and it takes the homeowner that she stood on the porch of to make another big ruckus in order for them to even get a response other than a denial? That's absurd to me, right? The report that I read talks about how Homeland Security contacted the state and said they wanted to help. Really? I mean, why? See, listen, again, I do housing. Do you know, again, talking about homeless, the state requires a homeless individual that decides that they want to get back on their feet as part of getting out of homelessness to pay a portion of their homeless shelter. Now, as a conservative, you're probably thinking, well, what's wrong with that? Well, if you've ever worked in the homeless business, you would understand that is a catastrophe to the people we're trying to serve. It is demoralizing to the people we're trying to serve. And it's counterproductive, counterintuitive, really. So we had an individual, I saw somebody once worked his butt off after leaving a situation that was bad for him. But under the policies of this state, every bit of money that he worked, instead of being saved for his own apartment, had to be paid to pay for his homeless services. 346-3000, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk advocacy, right? Because Governor Cuomo, or not Cuomo, he's another moron. Again, the clerk appointed by Governor Cuomo ended up having to resign because 7 women that all of a sudden disappeared. I'm assuming they got paid off, if it was even real, right? But yet not a word from her. But yet she claims to be a champion of women's rights, and she's out there saying, oh, I just casted my vote for Kamala. That makes me great. But yet not one thing, and she still praises Governor Cuomo as a hero. We're going to talk advocacy when we get back. We're going to talk youth when we get back. So, mira, no cambie ese dial. Stay right here with us on WISL 92.1, 92, 95.5 FM, and 1040 AM. And don't forget social media. We'll be right back. met everything that they're asking for. Well, and I'm going to say this, Balarkey, right? Because in advocacy, not everybody wins, and in advocacy, not everybody walks away with everything that they want. What they do is they continue to push and push and push and find compromise somewhere in the middle. Now, listen, public speaking, I'm going to say it again. Public speaking, right? That's part of advocacy. Aside from tooting her own horns, when was the last time you've seen any advocacy coming out of public speak? Oh, wait a minute. A few weeks ago, I held a press conference asking her to say, hey, what is the status? What is the status of the 16 checks that were taken and the status of the individuals that committed the crime? Well, she did advocate, apparently. She did go out and say, well, Peter Vasquez needs to go and apologize to employees of the clerk's office because he called them criminal. Well, that's not really advocacy. That's actually lying. Well, that's lying, because that's not what I said. And check it out. It's been now over or almost a month that I asked that question and still no answer, right? But she did public speak, because she went on another radio show and said, oh, hey, I don't even know if there's an investigation going on. And we're like, what? Right? That's not advocacy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pause here for a second, because thank you, for sending me the names. I'm going to read off these names. Thank you, Keith, for reminding me that today is the 3-year anniversary of those that were left behind, and those that this current administration at the state, at the local, and at the national level are forgetting. Here, let's take a couple of minutes here, right? Staff Sergeant Darian Hoover, 31, from Salt Lake City. Sergeant Johnny Rosario Picardo, 25, from Lawrence, Massachusetts. Sergeant Nicole Lee G, 23, from Sacramento, California. Corporal Hunter Lopez, 22, from Indio, California. Corporal Deegan W. Page, 23, from Omaha, Nebraska. Corporal Humberto A. Sanchez, 22, from Longsport, Indiana. Marine Lance Corporal David Espinoza, 20, from Rio Bravo, Texas. Lance Corporal Jared M. Schmitz, 20, from St. Charles, Missouri. Lance Corporal Riley J. McCullum, 20, from Jackson, Wyoming. Lance Corporal Dylan R. Marola, 20, from Rancho Cacamonga, California. And Lance Corporal Kareem M. Nikoi, 20, from Norco, California. Ladies and gentlemen, take the next 10 seconds and just think about that for a second. Now, see, ladies and gentlemen, again, none of this stuff is a political statement. These are a fact. In America, right, Americans don't leave people behind. And don't forget, right, as a result of what's happening in Israel, as a result of that attack on October 7th, there are still 5 Americans sitting as prisoners under Hamas. And guess what? The buffoon in those still hasn't done anything about it. That's not advocacy. See, if I go, or when I'm clerk and I'm arguing or I'm advocating and I'm at the State House and I'm like, listen, I'm here because we need to talk about how we do things in the clerk's office. I'm here because we need to lower the cost to our people. When I'm sitting in front of the county executive and I'm like, mira, papa, all right, mira, papa, we gotta open these front doors. Right? We got to open these front doors so that people coming through, that are having trouble with that side exit, or simply don't want to go, or just easy access and doesn't want to go through the whole hallway. People that struggle with walking but aren't quite ready for walkers or wheelchairs. Right? We got to simplify those. Or even the veterans or those that are coming with PTSD that just kind of want to get in and out, get their stuff done. Right? When we're having those discussions, I'll tell you what, It won't just be me having that discussion, because I do believe that when leaders go out there and talk to the people, some people want to call it a grassroots campaign. Okay, let's call it a grassroots campaign. But I'll tell you what, when I go out there and we advocate, we're going to advocate with the power of the people. That's two reasons. One, because it holds me accountable to what I'm telling you I'm going to do, but it also holds them accountable. And see, that's the transparency that these people claim they have, but none of them do. We can't even get straight answers for the ARPA funds, right? Does that mean that they participated in it? And listen, I'm still yet convinced that the county clerk's office had nothing to do with that. And the thing is, because the reports keep coming in and coming in that Romeo's a no-show clerk, she's never in the office, right? How can she possibly know if her office has anything to do with that? See, advocacy requires somebody to go out and work for the other person, not for them. Now, listen, I'm going to toot my own horn here for a reason, because I'll tell you, I get in trouble from the left and the right and the middle because my whole focus, it is stew, right? Politics be damned. I've said it over and over and over again. This isn't about politics. Tell me, why is it so impossible, almost to the point where people just don't want to get pistol permits anymore? And the only thing that we get from the clerk's office is it's the state's issue. Hey, check it out. Jamie Romeo, it's time that you and I went on TV, talked, and had a debate. Hey, we can make it happen. I'll be right back right here on the WYSL stations. And Jamie, it could be the radio too. Welcome back to the Next Step Show, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what? You heard it right there from the clerk's mouth, right? Customer service is not her business. 346 3000. Hey, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about our young people because, Monroe County, in partnership with the Monroe County Department of Public Health, in partnership with different school districts, conducted a youth risk behavior survey report, right? This was a survey that was completed, if I understand it correctly, by students that attend a school district throughout the entire county. So let me just let me give you some a backdrop on these, right? So 17,176 students participated in the 2023-24 school year survey. 14 public school districts participated. Of these districts, 12 suburban schools administered the survey between October and December of 23. One suburban school administered the survey in January, and the Rochester City School District administered the survey in January. 4 suburban schools did not participate, and no charter schools were included. Now I wonder why. So what do we got here? Let me see. Countywide, the response rate was 59%. In the suburbs, it was 66%. And in the city, it was 37%. Let me see what else. Let me see. Divided by total enrollment. Okay. Suburban school. Okay. The response rate range in suburban schools that participated, the response rate ranged from 89 to 55% of students. And they also show that the city school district was underrepresented in this survey because of the, well, here, I'll read it. The city school district, Rochester, is underrepresented in the countywide analysis due to the lower student participation rate than that of suburban districts. So again, I'm not a mathematician. I mean, I do know how to read. I do know how to add. I know how to use a calculator. But if the survey is saying that the city school district was underrepresented, then I think it's a safe assumption to make that the results are also heavily weighed on the suburban schools. Okay, you with me on this? So let's look at some of these numbers, right? And they have them in different categories. The first category I'm going to look at is adverse childhood experiences, also known as trauma, right? But, they can't just say trauma because why would they? They got to give acronyms. Let's call it ACE, adverse childhood experiences. It sounds fancy, right? I mean, hey, you got to give these lawmakers and the people that come up with this stuff credit for ingenuity. Kind of like BLM, right? I mean, how do you argue with that, especially if you're not black, right? How do you sit there and say that? Or it just, again, the trickery behind the wording that they used. What was it? The one with guns. Gosh, they use these pretty names. But this research, right? This particular category is in reference to trauma that a child experienced or that a student experienced before the age of 18 without intervention or support, I believe. So I'm going to read a couple questions because these numbers are a trip. 58% of students reported experiencing one or more traumatic event, 18%, and 18 reported 3 or more traumatic events. I believe that's in a week, right? 24% of blacks, 28% of Latinos, and 15% of white students reported experiencing 3 or more traumatic events. Often repeated, and this is where things get scary, right? Because these are some of the traumatic events that they identified, right? The question was, ever lived with anyone who had severe depression, anxiety, or another mental health illness? 26% of respondents Said yes. Remember, this weighs heavily, or at least more, on suburban schools than it does in the inner city, or the city school district. 17% of those responded said that they lived with someone who was having a problem with alcohol use, drug use, or problem gambling. 17% of those students. 34% of those that responded said that they currently do not live with both parents. Let's look at these two in particular. We live in a state where we have a senator. I refer to him as Cooney the Hut, right? I guess you can call him Cooney if you want to, or whatever the heck his last name. To me, he's Cooney the Hut. He fits the entire description that formed Jabba the Hutt in Star Wars. Okay, he's holding up bags of marijuana, or at least presumed marijuana, right? Saying how excited he was to make his purchase at one of these legal drug dealers in the city of Rochester, right? And promoting it, right? I'm sorry, it just again, I said earlier, consequences, right? Role models. Someone asked me, Peter, what's the biggest role that you think you will have as the next county clerk of Monroe County? And I said, listen, my biggest role will be to be a role model for those people that are out there that are wondering if they too can leave where they are for the betterment of themselves and help others. Check this out. 87% of these same students said that they agree or strongly agree that their family gives them the help and support when they need it. 87%. Family that are clear rules about what they can and can't do. Now, again, this weighs heavy on suburban schools. Now, I got to ask, see, and this is where statistics, I think, it really is up to the person reading it to go in and make sure that they're looking at these numbers carefully. Because I can tell you from hands on, no, I haven't commissioned a study like this, but I'm out there talking to these people. I grew up with most of the people that would have that in the city school district, and I can tell you that 86 or 87% of those kids are not saying that they feel that they have the support at home, right? And one more trend, because I'm running out of time. In regards to experiencing racism and discrimination, where are we? Students, 45% of blacks, 32% of Latino, 47% of and 47% of students identified as LGBTQ, treated unjustly due to their race, sexual orientation, and gender identity. But that same sentiment carries out through the mental health, carries through parental influence, sexual behaviors. Hey, did you know that 19% or that 13% of students reported that they engaged in sexual intercourse in the past 3 months? These are under 18-year-old students. 53% of sexually active females reported that their partners used a condom the last time they had sex. And 60% of sexually active males, again, all under 18, reported that they used condoms the last time. Where are the role models? Marijuana use. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, I can't say it. Oh, I can't say it more. Please be a leader, be a leader, be a leader. If you're an elected official, darn it, be a leader. Check it out. Say it with me, right? Repeat it and memorize it. Leadership is the beacon that guides me, for it's through selfless service that I illuminate the way for others to find their own greatness. Y mira, no que te olvide, aquí on the Next Step Show, your conservative New Yorker, on WYSO con Roberto Craig Savaje y el señor D'Angelo, siempre, siempre te amamos. See you then.